Hey, what's up everybody? Joshua Casper back at you with Plugin Boutique. And today we're going to be doing something pretty cool if you ask me. And that is creating a song like the one you heard in the intro to this video with just automated processes from Audiomodern plugins. As you can see here on the screen, I'm using Playbeat, Riffer, and the brand new Chordjam. And that has driven, or those have driven this entire track. The only thing that I did was put the kick drum in. And it's a 4-to-the-floor kick drum, so it's not a lot. But everything else was automated or generated by one of these three plugins. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to do it. I'm not sure what's going to happen along the way because it is automated and it is random in some sense, but I think it's a cool experiment. And what I came up with rather quickly, I am really happy with. So let's go ahead and redo everything. All right, so the first thing I want to do is make some chords, because generally you make your chord progression and then you make things around that. So I think that's a good place to start. And to do that, we're going to be using Chordjam. This is a brand new plugin from Audiomodern. I would have already done a video more in depth about this. So if you're looking for that, the link will be in the video description. In this video, to keep things kind of short, I'm going to be going fairly quickly. So essentially, if I press one key on my keyboard, I'm going to get a chord. And we have a lot of controls over the scale. We have a lot of controls over the types of chords that we're getting. But before we jump into that, what we need to do is route that to something. So I'm actually I have Hive loaded with a pretty cool patch. So what I'm gonna do is just go ahead and route the incoming MIDI from Chordjam, second drop down Chordjam, and then make sure I'm in. So if I press a chord now, and remember I need to have the Chordjam track armed. So that's the patch, and I'm just pressing one chord there and it's giving me that. So what I want to do is change my scale to G. I'm going to leave it on minor, and I like this chord type. And now what I can do is actually adjust any one of these notes in the chord up or down an octave, and I'm going to take this first one and drop it down. And for velocity, I can actually set a range. If I say like this and then hit this button, it will give me a range. But if I hit this right here, it will actually fluctuate every pass or every time a chord is generated. You see that? So I'm actually gonna bring it a little bit louder and a little bit louder that way. So anytime a chord is triggered, it's going to randomize the velocity in that range. Cool. And it's the same thing over here on time. We can actually do it like this, and then we can make it like a sort of strumming effect. But that's not what I want to do. I'm actually just going to bring it down really short and turn it on infinite here. It's just going to give me a little bit of variation, a little bit of more of a human feel in terms of the chords. So now that I have sort of the overall feeling, I'm going to turn on the sequencer and I'm going to come down here and I'm going to draw it in. There is an automated version, but I'm going to just go ahead and do it by myself here, just because I kind of know what I want already. And when I have selected one of these, so if I click right here and press the chord, it's going to update. So over here, I'm going to go G, and then over here, F. And if I press play now on the keyboard or in my DAW, that's what I got. Pretty cool, huh? So let's just take that and run with it. Let's jump on to the next one, and this is where I'm going to put Riffer. And Riffer is really great for making melodies. So now that we have our chords, let's generate some melodies. Again, I've got Synth Master loaded here with a nice patch, but I'm gonna take the incoming MIDI from Riffer again, and make sure it's set to in. And let's jump into Riffer. And we wanna go ahead and make sure we're on G minor. And now if we hit generate, it's gonna generate a melody in the scale that we have with our chords. So what I'm gonna do is actually go ahead and solo all of that and the kick drum, and we'll just see what we got right now. Okay, so it's way too busy for me. So what I'm gonna come right here, and I'm actually gonna drop this down. Let's go ahead down to 4 just for fun. I'm gonna hit randomize again. And I've got root note on. I'm actually gonna go ahead and turn that off so I'll get more of a variation. So actually what I want to do is take my steps and boost it up to 32 because I want this melody to be really sparse. And now that I've done that, I'm going to take my loop and make it a 32 bar loop. And I'm actually going to bring this up to 6 and then hit randomize again. And now I'm going to get a more sparse sort of lead here that's going to go really well with what we've got with the chords and this patch inside of SynthMaster. All right, so that's really cool. But what I like to do when I'm doing this is I don't want to have to come in and hit this button every time. If I turn on this infinite right here and then leave it on 1 or maybe even make it 2, it will, every time it cycles through however many essentially loops I have here, it's going to automatically change. So I'm going to leave it on 1 just to show you what I'm talking about. If you're going for a really generated feel, just leave that on and your lead's gonna be different every time it goes through. But when I'm actually making a track, I usually am gonna wanna repeat stuff so it's not too unique each and every time. I'm actually gonna come down here and sustain notes, and that just means if they're together, it'll actually be sustained instead of in 2 quick successions there. Okay, so let's say this is the one I'm gonna go with. I don't like that one. Very, very cool. So let's say that's the lead I'm gonna go with. So we're already well on our way to a really cool sounding track. The next one I'm gonna use is Playbeat. And again, I've done full in-depth tutorials on all of these. Okay, so if you're looking to learn a little bit more about each one of them and how to get started with them or how to use them in a more advanced manner, definitely check those out. All of those will be linked in the video. And just as I said before, I'm trying to keep the time quite, reasonable here. So that's why I'm going through quite quickly through these. And for these, and I said it in the other video, I really like Playbeat to generate percussive patterns for me rather than putting a kick drum in there, because just the nature of being random, I find it works a little bit better this way. So I'm gonna come in here to some percussion. Now we can take that one. We can just drag and drop these. Yeah, it's probably too long. Let's take a shaker. And then all we have to do is, again, just hit right there. And if I'm selecting a 4, it's only going to select there. So I got to go back to all, and it's going to make a pattern for me. I also want to bring down the number here. Again, I like a little bit more sparse. All right, so that sounds pretty cool. Let's see what it sounds like in the context of the track we're working on. All right, so that one sounds pretty cool. And again, this is all randomly generated. And now we're gonna come down to the sub. And for this, I'm actually going back into Chordjam here and just drag and drop that MIDI out right here. If I drag and drop, I'm gonna get those lush chords there on my sub. But what I can do is just come in here, go ahead and just delete all of that, maybe quantize. Oh, no, that's not how I wanna quantize it all, is it? Just quantize it to the grid. and then drop it down into sub territory. And then duplicate that. Anyway, let's bring this one up, Suze. Yeah, let's try that. And I mean, we're well on our way to a cool idea. Now, I've said it before and I'll say it again. When I'm using plugins like this, like Chordjam, like Riffer, I'm doing it until I hear an idea that I like, and then I'll take that MIDI, bring it out, and then I'll manipulate it how I want it so it's actually perfect inside of the track I'm working on. I mean, that just sounds great. And we can easily come in and get a new melody. And if I wanted to come in here to the velocity, I could come in and change that a little bit too. Let's say I want to bring this one down, bring that one up. And again, I'm just using the same patches I used in the beginning of the project, but if you go in and you use different patches from your different synths, if you go in and change the chords, I mean, if you change your chord progression and your scale, you're gonna have to go through and redo everything, but it's just so quick. You know, we can still come back into Chordjam and tweak out our chords a little bit. You know, maybe we want them a little bit more heavy on the velocity, a little bit less on the timing, and maybe we wanna put the voices up real high on that 5th note. You can see that just coming in and tweaking out, never mind going in and changing the key or, you know, the scale or the actual chord progression, just tweaking out some of the parameters can give you a completely different feel. And again, the point here is just to do this random sort of AI-driven randomness until you have an idea that you can run with and make into something really cool. I just wanted to share that video with you. Let me know if you thought it was helpful. Let me know what you think of these 3 plugins because I absolutely love them. And as I said a couple of times in this video, I've done in-depth tutorials on all of these, so links in the video description if you want more information on any one of them. Anyway, as usual, I'm Joshua Casper here with Plugin Boutique. I hope you learned something and I'll see you in the next video.